run small wetlands in cropland is challenging. It's got heartburn for some folks. So what we did is we sat down with farmers in the state, Farmers Union, Farm Bureau, Grain Growers, Documents Association, North Dakota Ag Department, and said, we know you have a challenge with these things. What's the solution? What's a workable solution? They said, pretty simple. If they're valuable to you, pay us for them. Don't prohibit agricultural use. Pay us a market rate that's reflective of what's happening in the landscape. And so what we did out of that discussion, with a lot of refinements, with lots of good input, is created this notion around working wetlands. And the goal, then we went to discuss it with NRCS, and then we went out and got a grant from the North Dakota Outdoor Heritage Fund, which was set up 2 legislative sessions ago as a mechanism to do state-based conservation. We said we want to do a test of this thing. And we had far more demand than we had supply.
Wow.
And that's without a big marketing effort. Mary Podol's staff, as you know, is thin.
Yeah.
And she said, the last thing I need you doing is running radio ads and sending direct mail flyers, because I can't deal with them all.
You can't manage it.
So we're going to deliver it through the offices. The offices did the outreach. And even with a nominal marketing effort, far more demand than supply. So then we sat down and started working through the applications. So what we have enrolled in the pilot project is 124 individual contracts in the U.S., in the North Dakota Prairie Pothole region, from the southeast part of the state all the way up to Renville, Mulhall, and up in that country. 124 contracts, 4,815.4 acres enrolled.
How many acres again?
4,815.4. So it's modest.
Yeah.
90, almost 9,400 individual wetland basins. And those contracts with those producers, the way we did the incentive payment is we used 2013 NASS data to establish a value, the cropland value at the county scale. So the producer in Lemoore County is getting paid more than the producer in Renville County because the values are so
land rent, the production value is higher.
Right. And so when it all was said and done, if we look at all, the average amount in the pilot project was about $79.
An acre.
An acre. No prohibition on agricultural use. Basically, the producer does what he or she would like to do with it. It's not up to us saying it's too wet or it's too dry. Yeah. That's a decision for the producer. If they get a crop off it, good for them. Yeah. We're happy. That is a good outcome. We just want to retain the hydrological benefits, and the habitat benefits of those wetlands. Agricultural use is not incompatible with that. So,
and do you guys understand why this size wetland is very difficult? You know, farmers typically see them as nuisance. It's not like you have a big body of water. But the folks who do this work on habitat, they maintain, and I have no reason to doubt them, that the habitat value of those smaller so-called nuisance potholes are just so much more valuable.
Yeah, if the old duck adage, and there's not that many people in the universe that care about ducks, I do a lot. I'm paid to care about it a lot. The old adage is 10 1-acre wetlands will support 10 times more breeding ducks than 1 10-acre wetland. Now, if you care about ducks, that's meaningful.
Yeah.
Where you really start to get the public excited about it is what prairie wetlands do in terms of other functions and values. They're incredible sources of carbon storage. Incredible sources of carbon storage. Store 89 pounds of nitrogen per acre, 1.7 pounds of phosphorus, and 0.75 acre feet of water annually. So those are the benefits. I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to say, yeah, we should spend $250 million for more duck habitat. The rest of these values that have real, I mean, you look at what the American taxpayer and the North Dakota taxpayers paid, not to mention the pain and suffering that's gone on in Devil's Lake. The tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and billions of dollars that we've paid in the Devil's Lake Basin is in large measure because A, we know we've had lots of precipitation, but B, we've lost the ability to soak up that water and all those wetlands that have been lost. And so now we've got other people dealing with those problems. So those are the ways this is not a program that will live and die on the backs of breeding ducks. I'm relatively certain of that.
Although there are a lot of people in Congress who like ducks a lot. when farmers ask me sometimes, why is this happening? I go, because people in Congress like ducks more than they do farmers. Now, the habitat thing is very significant from a kind of political standpoint. And we see that especially with hunters and with wildlife managers to the south of us. And this is such a critical region for habitat, for waterfowl. And so we get hit. And the reality is that a whole lot of places used to look like North Dakota, but back in the 50s, they did the first tiling and draining, and North Dakota was late to that. And by the time the 60s came around, we had these wetland easement programs. Then, people sold the easements, not really understanding what that meant. And now you have farmers here in North Dakota who rightfully ask the question, why are we the only people who have to maintain habitat? Why can't we farm our land? Everybody else farmed their land. And so I think what's great about a program like this is anytime you can get producers who are trying to farm and make a living along with folks who are trying to maintain the resource, and it works out, it's terrific. I mean, that's why this is exciting for us to see how this works and see people building coalitions, and it's not without expense.